Unacademy caused a flutter yesterday by announcing that they would be tightening the purse strings. They're planning to go public in the next 2 years and have decided to prune up their finances. In a letter to employees, founder Gaurav Munjal had said that the company will embrace frugality as a core value. He announced that founders and management will take salary cuts. Apart from this, no business travels for absolutely anyone, no more free lunches and snacks. Now, the question we're asking today is, will this really help? We know that startups are going through a tough phase right now, and many of them have been laying off staff as well. At the last count, there are about 11,000 pink slips which have been handed out in this space just in this calendar year. The question is that, is it because of these excesses that they've come to this stage? Was the cash burn unnecessary? Because among the other things that Unacademy has decided to do is no longer splurge money on advertising and will not be sponsoring the IPL, for example. Just to get a perspective on this, I'm joined now by Siddharth Pai, founding partner 314 Capital. I will also be speaking in a bit to Ganesh. Welcome, Siddharth. Great to have you on the show. Just your take on this frugality bent, and I'm not talking only about Unacademy. They, of course, have talked about this in the context of, going public, etc. But we're seeing more and more startups beginning to pull back. Do you think that's going to be enough as funding dries up?
See, a large number of startups have actually realized now that the macro situation no longer can actually sustain the amount of cash burn that's underpinned the growth story that we've actually seen over the past 3 to 4 years itself. So as part of that, a number of them are actually seeking to actually reduce the number of experiments or pivots that they've actually run to actually concentrate more on the core business as of now, and any extraneous costs that they have been incurring previously to actually prune those down as well. And frugality, as all of us know, actually breeds a large amount of innovation. So for a large number of these entrepreneurs, it's actually going back to how they ran their company when they actually just got their first round of funding, the seed round of funding for that matter, where every rupee actually did end up counting to a large extent. I think the mindset shift that's actually happened right now, where frugality has actually become a good word, that most of them are actually chanting right now, that underscores their operations, will actually hold them in very, very good stead.
What is frugality? Not giving your staff coffee or snacks. How much money is it going to save you?
So is
that the cash burn?
No, of course not. See, the most important thing to realize about startups is all of them are actually masters of marketing. When times are really good, I remember the entire media was actually at an uproar over the fact that star performers could actually go to Dubai, could get a Ducati bike, and all these kind of things. And now everyone's actually more or less over-indexed on the fact that free tea and coffee won't actually be given. Now, the impact that these have actually had is to actually send a signal to the entire market that anything that's deemed to be extraneous or frivolous for that matter will no longer actually be tolerated. The amount that's actually contributed, either in terms of the Ducati bikes or Dubai trips when times are good, or to actually reduce tea and coffee as of now when times are actually bad, is to actually send a signal to the entire market, because startups have actually mastered the entire piece itself. The greater amount of cost rationalizations actually happened, as you mentioned, is with regard to the marketing budgets that all of these have had. We've actually seen India Inc. vacate most of the IPL space, and Indian startups actually take up that entire space itself. And now, over the next couple of years, we'll actually see a reversal of that actually going forward. Most of them are acutely aware of what their budgets can actually end up sustaining. But when they do actually put out the press releases or internal memos, they always manage to actually send a strong signal.
You're saying that okay, if I were to break it down, you're saying that the Ducati, PR was also overstated, and the coffee tea cuts are maybe also overstated. Ganesh, great to have you join in on the conversation. We're just talking about what this frugality mindset is really going to mean, and is it going to help startups as they look at this long winter as far as funding is concerned, because the problem wasn't only these so-called extraneous expenditures, isn't it? It's about business models which seem to unravel eventually.
No, so I think there are multiple aspects here. One, very clearly, there is a traditional way of running the business, building businesses, which has been done for decades now, which is you open one store, you do some business, you make profit, you take that profit and invest in another store, and you go on like that step by step. It's a slow process, steady process. You will not have any missteps. You will not have this kind of a situation where you have to lay off people or cut back on perks, whether necessary or unnecessary, or move from business class travel to economy class travel. That's a traditional way. Today, the new age businesses or businesses that are mostly in media class that we all like to talk about because of the valuations and unicorns are the new age businesses. They are funded and fueled by venture capital money. They cannot wait that long for 20 years to build a profitable business and go store by store. You need to take risk. You need to have growth. You need to do something which is faster. You can say burning money. You can say buying market share. You can say discounting. That is the business model. Now, when you subscribe to this, that's what the founder subscribes when you take venture capital money. That's what the investor, risk capital investor, which is the venture capital investor, wants. So in that scenario, you would bound to have each of these steps. No R&D, no innovation ever got done by frugality, by sensible. You require mavericks. Why would people take a ship and sail across the seas knowing very well they will meet with a storm, they will die, they will never return? You will never conquer that way. Entrepreneurship, startup, new age businesses like that. So I'm not at all surprised by the fact that you open new verticals, you try new pivots, you try new business models, hire certain kind of people, and then if it doesn't work out for multiple reasons, either because it was not a good idea, or because the markets went cold, or because winter set in, or next round capital is not available, you have to dial back. And
No, but my question, Mr. Ganesh, is this dialing back? What we're talking about seems to be very extraneous things.
No.
And then the question is that shouldn't this have been in your business model in the first place?
No. So there are two aspects to it. One is, what is the purpose of cutting back certain things? Does it materially affect your P&L and bottom line? Okay, right? That's one question. Or is it purely a signal of frugality? So I have done over 30 years multiple startups. Personally, I have maintained both in my lifestyle, the kind of cars I drive, the kind of offices that we have, absolute frugality to indicate to people across the board and down the line, saying that this is a startup, it is frugality. If you want executive chef, 5-star bathrooms, a key to a special toilet, then go and join a multinational or a British company. If you're going to work in a startup, this is going to be scrappy and frugal. Now, that's the message that I sent, and we attracted similar people, and we built businesses like that. I'm perfectly okay with somebody else who is heavily funded in trying to attract people from Googles or Amazons of the world who are used to working in a certain lifestyle, offering them best of the bucks, but they need to have the funding for that. So I think both works depending on the kind of people you want to attract or model. Now, the problem that happens in all of this is expectations versus what actually happens in reality. Nobody likes to go down, economize, tighten the belt after they got used to certain lifestyle. Whether it is business travel versus economy travel, whether it is free donuts and coffee and idli and vada and all that stuff and down, that is bad.
It seems a little harsh to hold back on the free donut, coffee, idli and vada. I'm just saying that Siddharth is laughing. You've been sipping your coffee, but just think about it. What is the kind of message you attracted people saying that, you're joining this cool space where if people in their 20s suddenly become millionaires and multi-millionaires, and then now you're cutting corners on the coffee machine?
No, smell the coffee. This is the reality. That's what people need to know, that there is no free lunch or free coffee or free idli vada forever.
No, who was paying for the idli vada earlier? Siddharth Pai, please come in.
So I personally wasn't paying for the idli vada, nor was the fund I work for, just to clarify that. But jokes aside, I think what's actually important right now is they've actually understood that when capital was actually at a surplus, most of the startups actually had to unfortunately resort to these sort of tactics to actually attract the right kind of talent. Because if you recollect, a year ago, it was almost impossible for any of these startups to actually end up hiring.
Exactly. Exactly. You were giving them trips, you were giving them, gizmos, gadgets. Now you're saying, okay, but no coffee for you. I mean, it just seems like a bizarre business strategy.
It's a marketing signal that's actually sending up. Because see, if you actually think about it, by actually putting out that one particular line about no coffee, no tea, no snacks, we have actually on prime time right now actually debating that entire piece rather than the larger cost-cutting measures they've actually done. No startups are actually going to dial back coffee and tea for that matter. Most of them already end up no. But the fact that they managed to command that sort of mindshare by doing it, it actually speaks volumes about the kind of entrepreneurial zeal.
I don't know if this is the kind of mind space that startups want right now, because the story is looking shaky and you're seeing more and more founders coming out and talking about sounder business models. Okay, Ganesh, you talked about waking up and smelling the coffee. Do you think that is happening right now? Ganesh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
so, sorry,
I said you talked about waking up and smelling the coffee. Do you think that's finally happening right now?
No, it's absolutely happening. See, we are underestimating the founders. Founders and entrepreneurs have a missionary zeal. They are mavericks. They play the game as per the market. Okay, right? When venture capital investors, when the markets want to listen about how they are going to go and conquer the world and put a man on the moon and all that stuff, they will talk that way. When the investors want to listen about path to profitability, want to talk about frugality, want to see that founders take pay cuts, they will do that automatically. They are very smart. That's why they are entrepreneurs, right? They know that their odds of success when they start a business are very, very low. So don't underestimate the founder. If they are sending signals, if they are doing it, that is because that's what the market wants to hear. And it's perfectly fine. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Business models right now have to insist on frugality. There will be some signaling that will take place. There will be some steps that will be done to show the fact that we are being frugal. And beneath that, there are hardcore cuts are being done, because that is what the market is valuing. Because these guys are smart. They will know what will it take them to get the next round of funding, what the investors want to hear for the next round of funding. They are playing that particular game right now, and they are smart enough, better than you and me, to be able to do that. That's what they are doing. I think all of that is fine, but fundamentally the fact is that today you need to survive. This is not a time for market share, for growth. This is a time for survival, and ensure that you are alive in the next 6, 12, and 18 months. Because if you are able to do that, you will outrun all your competition. The weak competitors will die. You will come out much, much stronger. And I have seen this in every business cycle I have faced, whether it is .com bust, whether it is September 11, whether it is Lehman Brothers. Companies that managed to stay above water came out much, 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 much stronger, because their weak competitors died. So in order to do that, what all costs do you cut, including some of the costs, which is more optics and signaling, is worthwhile doing it. And believe me, the entrepreneurs clearly know it. It's obviously painful for them to do it, because by nature,
a bit of reality check, a bit of optics from startups themselves, founders themselves, saying that yes, we get the message and we're not going to be splashing your money around. Thank you so much. Ganesh and Siddharth Pai, great to have you on the show as always. We'll take a very